Thanks to everybody for waiting, for your patience, for believing in the dream of the OLX team led by Demola, and for also being on this webinar this morning. The learning factor in executive leadership development is what we're going to quickly discuss about. And like Demola said, leadership development has always been key in organizations. But more than ever before, it becomes very imperative. And the reason is this: businesses, organizations, agencies, MDAs in public sector, um, social enterprise organizations, non-profit organizations, irrespective of the sector or the industry that you are, the reality is that the acronym VUCA affects everyone. The terrain or the environment that gives the context of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity is what everybody is facing. Either you are for profit, or you're non-profit, or you're in between, combining both as a social enterprise, or you're also a public sector. There is the reality that the terrain in which we're conducting our operations, we're conducting our institutional operations, we're conducting our organizational businesses is vaporized. And what that means is that leaders then have greater responsibility to lead right. So not only to lead in the concept of leadership or inspire right, but the ones who will be charged with executive management, the ones who will be charged with proper strategic drive of the organization, the onus on them becomes greater than ever before to ensure that they are charting appropriately, they are forging in the right path, they are leading as effectively as they should to help the organizations that we work for and that they lead to be able to be successful, and then apart from be successful, be sustainable. So if you then link it from the reality of the terrain in which organizations are operating to the challenges that the organizations face to perform, to succeed, and also not to have their successes as flash in the pan, but to have their successes sustainable. And then to the leaders, the executives, the top, the board, the C-level, the top management that will need to steer these organizations in this context, right? And it then becomes the question, how do these people, how do they develop appropriately? How should they develop appropriately in professional context, in personal context, that is relative to driving, or enabling or impacting required capabilities for them to succeed as senior executives. All right? If you are following me, could you please drop check in the box so that I know that I am not too slow, I'm not too boring. I won't do ahead of time. For those on the webinar who might know me, I'm a very energetic facilitator, but it's what it is this morning. So bear with me. But I just want to check in that you are with me. So it's check. All right. So I'm seeing lots of checks. All right, fantastic. Okay. So I am then going to share with you. And in the context of development, it's a wide spectrum, right? Many things are played in the development of anybody, in the development of leaders, in the development of executive leaders. But I would want to just niche our conversations this morning to how learning as a factor contributes to executive leadership development and what it means in the essence of that contribution, what it looks like, how learning can impact, right? And how learning can be done to impact. So, quick disclaimer, sorry, the chicken pox, there are some issues that go on, right? But just take this as an informal webinar from Theo this morning. Okay, so disclaimer, if you were looking forward to a webinar that will probably talk on learning, blended learning, hybrid learning, all the traditional knowledge that we have, this will not be it. As a thought leader in leadership development, as a coach, as a consultant, as a mentor, right? And also being someone that has been in the learning space for a while, I know that it's easy for us to contextualize all the modes of learning, blended learning, hybrid, classroom and all. I'm not about that this morning. I'm about conceptualization. So what I want to drop with you briefly in the few slides I have is just to help you reconceptualize, the concept of learning vis-a-vis driving effective executive leadership development. So it means that irrespective of any learning platform, any learning program, any learning policy, any learning process that you might want to deploy, the concept I'm going to be sharing with you would be good for you to adopt as an underbelly, right? As an anchor to build on whatever learning approach, program, or policies you want to deploy for executive leadership. Okay, so let's get into it. So what is learning? I know that is something that all of us right away know. Just in simple terms, is the acquisition of knowledge or skill through various means, right? We are all learning people. Some of us here are leaders as well, even if we are not called learning professionals, okay? But all of us, either from the end of providing the learning or from the end of receiving the learning, we've all been involved in learning at different points in time. And we are doing so again this morning. So, acquisition of knowledge or skill, but through what? Either study, we read for exams, we read for certifications, right? We also read to even know. We read novels, we read self-help books, we read books generally to get knowledge. We read magazines, either through electronic format or through hard copies. So baseline, okay? But not only to study, through experience. So it means that learning as well is gathered from things that happen to you and how you relate, you interpret, and you respond to that thing that happens to you. That's what is called experience. It can also be maybe experience from somebody close to you or somebody that you know, okay? Or you being actually taught. So it can be for study, through experience, or actually you being taught. As I would probably teach you a concept today that some of you might be aware of. It might be a reminder to some of you. It might be eye-opener to some of you. Some of you might never have brought it together. You might have known a bit here and there, right? But this webinar is serving as a platform to also teach. All right. So that's learning. Now, what is development? Okay, because we're taking it that the learning factor, one bucket, but we're saying that the learning factor as it affects executive leadership development. Okay, so we also need to look at in the general sense, what is development, right? And development is the process of growth, progress, and positive change. In general sense, that's what it means. Somebody developing, somebody growing. So if you have a baby and you say, oh, this baby is not developing, what you will be referring to is that the expected growth of that baby based on different things, timing period of time, based on the weight, based on even gender, based on even what the baby is consuming and what the baby is taking in. You are saying that the baby is not developing means that the baby is not growing, the baby is not progressing, right? And that there is no positive change about the baby, because the baby, after a period of time, should do what? To be able to look around when he hears, or he or she hears, a familiar voice, because it shows that they're already getting acclimatized, and using voice to identify people. It shows that the baby is growing. The baby wants to be able to feed itself. The baby wants to be able to pick things and all that and stuff, right? So, and then crawling, walking, to be able to start running, right? Now, so that's development. Same thing for us generally, for professionals, for entrepreneurs, for learning practitioners, for HR practitioners, for medical practitioners, for teachers, for lawyers, everybody, right, is expected to go through development, a process of growth, of progression, of positive change, right? But I needed to be able to then bring it all together, right? As AIHR showed me when I needed to quickly find who I talked about bringing together learning and development. Okay, so bringing them together, like we see, learning, acquiring new knowledge, skills, or behaviors through training, experience, and other opportunities, right? Development, an ongoing long-term process, and that's why we say. So actually, when we say lifelong learning, which is popular, that I hear people say, the truth really is that, right? The truth really is that lifelong learning will actually drive lifelong development. Okay, so if really people want to embrace lifelong development, which should be the objective, right? Which is an ongoing long-term process of enhancing professional capability and career progression. But they have limited it because it's not only professional. So let me give you an example. I have a 65-year-old mentor who is very well known across the country, who founded a 30-year organization and is the number one leader in its industry, Nigeria and in Africa. And so he says now that, he listens to lots of ebooks, right? He uses ebooks, right? Before he used to read, right? But now, and that is intentional. It's not only about the comfort. It's intentional because scientifically, right, as we are hitting some age and some milestone development, age 60, 70, 80, your retentive memory ideally might not be as grounded as when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, or your 50s. So for him, right, to ensure that he's continuing developing and all that stuff, he needs to find a way to be stretching his mental capacity to take in things, right? So ebooks, right, audio books, right, are one of the ways in which, right, he enhances, right, and ensures that even though he's growing in age, his developmental capacity is not shrinking. Okay, so while this AIHR, my source, might not have added personal right? Enhancing personal capabilities. I want you to take that into context as well. That the development not only speaks to professional capabilities and career progression, but speaks to also everything about you in your personal space as well, as a human being, as a resource to your generation, as a resource to your community, as a resource to your company, as a resource to your country and continent, right, is also affected. And in bringing it all together now in an organizational context, that learning and development now encompasses initiatives designed to improve employee performance and drive business success through ongoing skill and capacity building. So I've helped you, and I love this because we're all different. So some of us might be just very, very strictly L&D professionals that just want me to speak the L&D lingo and want me to be very technical, which I've tried not to be in this webinar. Okay, for those that are non-L&D people, right? This also is a webinar that you can also learn from, because as long as you're going to be a manager, a team supervisor, a leader in your organization, either the ones that you founded, the ones you built, the ones you bedded, or the ones that are employed in, you will need to at some point play the role of advocate, right? In building your team. You will need to work with HR people, learning and development people, right? In building capacity and capabilities for your talent. You will need to understand the competencies that the various people working in your team need to have to deliver superior results, and how to be able to evaluate and measure, right, through various policies, processes, and instruments that your organization, has at disposal for you, to be able to understand where their playing strength are and where either weaknesses or gaps are, and the appropriate developmental approach or intervention to be able, right, to engage that gap. So this is for everybody. For me, it's a progression. It's saying development in general, leadership development and executive leadership development, because conceptually they're actually different, right? They are terms. They can be used interchangeably by you L&D professionals. They can be used interchangeably by anybody, but contextually, right? They're different, right? In concepts, okay? They're interrelated, they are linked, but they're different. Development focuses on personal growth, progress, personal or professional growth, progress, positive change, and all that. Leadership development focuses on building capabilities to influence and inspire. That's it, right? Because leadership development can be from your gatesman, right? The dispatch rider, the most junior person in the organization, the most hard up staff, the person with the most informal job, right? To the person with the most formal job, right? So leadership development can be from the factory worker who is the blue collar staff, to the CEO who is the white collar staff, right? From the crane operator, right, to the knowledge worker who's carrying laptop, the analyst, the consultant, and all. Leadership development cuts across, right? Focus on building capabilities to inspire. So on the shop floor, customer service floor, right? Front office floor, sales room floor, right? You need someone who doesn't have to have a big title, right? But to have leadership capability to influence, to inspire, right? You need your entry level people, graduate trainees, to understand at their level basic leadership skills that helps them to even inspire their colleagues, that helps them to also even influence. And when we say 360-degree leadership, start from the self, right? Be able to influence peers, right? Be able to influence anyone coming behind, maybe interns, NYSC people. But funny enough, being able to also influence upwards, right? with courtesy, with emotional intelligence, but influence upwards, right? With that there's data to show that this is very possible, irrespective of if people are your uplines, right? So leadership development, if we don't know today, should not be confused with executive development, if you want to call it that way, or executive leadership development. They are two different things, right? So leadership development is focused on everybody generally. A teenager can go through a leadership development program, can go through a leadership development intervention. So I'm sure we get it, right? But executive leadership development, because I needed to make this distinction so that when I just share my brief conceptual framework about learning approach that can drive executive leadership development, we're aligned. You are not thinking at it from the point of learning that can drive development in general. You are not thinking about it from learning that can drive leadership development. You're thinking about it from learning approach or context that can drive executive leadership development. And what is it? It's a focus on building capabilities around strategy, execution, and operations, right? And more. And if you ask me, who do these three words apply to? I didn't underline it, right? But let me quickly also engage the class. So I didn't underline the word strategy. I didn't underline the word ability to drive execution. I didn't underline the word ability to lead operations. But guess what? Give me examples of people or roles in the organization that require these capabilities at a 9/10 level. Quickly. Anybody? Give me people in the organization that those three words apply to. C-suite, right? So I'm seeing Adebayo says, Pelumi says, program leads, right? Depends on our own organization. Say program leads. You are both correct. Who else, please? Drop for me, quickly. Drop for me. CEOs, Adetuji Ogunlari says CEOs. Samson Adegoke says COOs, yeah, Chief Operating Officers. Amazing, right? So we're seeing it. Executive, I'm sure EDs will come to mind. Executive directors. Yes, Lide Olunloyo says managers. Yes. So you're all right. So I am not seeing anybody saying operations managers, Miriam Lawal, thank you. I'm not seeing anybody saying I'm not saying anybody saying analyst. I'm not seeing anybody saying Miriam Lawal saying HRBPs. Well, it depends. HRBPs that title, but that their function. So it now depends on what is in the function. If you have HRBPs that are junior HRBPs, it will now apply to them. Maybe leadership development will apply to them. If you have HRBPs that are at the level of maybe country HR managers, because some organizations have HRBPs, right, as a title, while those HRBPs are playing the role of country HR managers. So I had a friend, for instance, that until they changed it in Microsoft then, right, his job title was HRBP, whereas he was country HR manager for Microsoft for Nigeria and even some countries in sub-Saharan Africa, right? So HRBPs, yes, but that are senior, right, are playing the role of country HR heads. As you know, an HRBP can be someone that has 1 year experience, like just a generalist, right? And all. So that would not apply. So we can all see that we've not put, I didn't see, program analyst. I didn't see program officer. I didn't see operations officer. I didn't see, you all agreed that there are some seniority level, responsibility level, right? Cadre level that these three words spoke to. Strategy, execution, operations. And when I'm even talking of operations, don't get it wrong. It's not also operations in the context of your administrative, right? Because, so this is a webinar, you pick a lot, right? Today as well, if you've always confused administrative things with operations, please, they are totally different. I'm a thought leader, but I've been given feedback. I have the ability to teach, right? Yeah. And it's my dream to teach in a business school soon. Okay. So I always want to break down concepts. Okay. Right. So you can have operations at different level of accountability. You can if I was in a physical class now, I'll probably take a flip chart. This is why I'll take a flip chart with my marker and just try drawing for you, right? Probably a triangle, right, with layers. At the baseline of anything, right, is always administrative, okay, right? You know, so above administrative, you have operational in that sense. Above operational, you have tactical. Above tactical, you have strategic, right? So you can have strategic operations, right? So even a COO, your chief operating officer or chief operations officer, is actually leading operations, but from a strategic level. Okay, right? You can have someone leading operations from an administrative level. You can have someone leading operations from an operational level. You can have someone leading operations from a tactical level. Because tactical planning level, right? You can have someone leading operations from a strategic level, right? And that's the way it works for all functions, and all Cadre organizations, right? Now, so we agreed that focus on building capabilities around strategy, execution, and operation speaks to senior people. So apart from these senior people generally participating and being involved in leadership development, executive leadership development then speaks directly to them, right? Speaks directly to them. Okay. Now, before I go into my framework, I want us to just drop on the chart. What are the nuances of this set of people? What are their characteristics? If we say let us profile them, what are the unique things about these people? Because after all, if you want to engage effective learning for the development of these people, right, you need to be able to, and that's why we use buzzwords. We professionals, either HR or L&D, fit to need, fit for purpose. Is anybody following me, right? Consultant, fit for purpose, learning intervention, fit to need, learning intervention. Sometimes people just use it. This is where I can say rubber meets the road. This is where the science behind all those things come to bear. Because it's not only fit for need or fit for purpose at the organization level. This way, again, I'll get to my flip chart, right? So in your mind, and you can follow me because you can be drawing these models already in your notepad. I'll get on my flip chart and also do another triangle. And probably say, look, there are 3 levels to, in fact, 4 levels sometimes. It's like now saying that if you want to profile and scope adequately, you now want to do what the L&D professionals here we know as, so I don't want to get too technical, right? But it's just what it is. We say LNA, right? Learning needs analysis. And we all know that it's different from training needs analysis because training and learning interwoven a bit different, right? Right. So learning needs analysis and then learning needs identification. Okay. So, but first of all, before you even do that, at least the community that learning will be targeted at should first of all be understood, right? And I think that many times the reason why executive leadership program development, intervention, and all that are not effective is because we jump to the technicalities of it. Like I said, learn intervention, or we don't adequately profile this community and pool and cadre of people that are going to, those interventions are going to be deployed for. So quickly, you guys can post on the chat, what is, let's profile these guys. Somebody called them C-suite. Yes, C-suite, heads of department. You've dropped the role CEO, COO, executive directors, and all. What is unique about them, right, guys? Your CFO, your COO, what's unique about them, right? So let me help you. Number one, they're very busy people, right? And so I'm already giving you an idea. They're busy people. So drop in the chat box, they're busy people. Oh, people, I have my iPad and my laptop up. So I was looking at the wrong whatever. They have deep insight, fantastic. Right? They determine the strategic direction. It means that for them, it's a helicopter view, helicopter view. They're always thinking, what's the strategic, whatever, right? Imperative and all. Decision making. The buck stops on their table. So they need to always want to be empowered to make decisions. It means that, whatever you are going to intervene for them, needs to empower them to make decisions. They think from a high level, absolutely, perspective. You cannot go to them with pedestrian stuff. In fact, you need to rethink how you are going to present some things, right, to them so that it's not too pedestrian, right? They are risk takers, absolutely, right? They need support, that's true. Delivery of organization is on their table. Delivery of organization, gentlemen, time constraints, I've not seen people say things about Esther, thank you. They don't make decisions. 9 out of 10 times, they don't make decisions based on emotions. They have developed that hardness to separate, their decisions, emotional context, from objectivity, right? These guys, decision stopped on their table, right? They're not emotional. They've separated emotions from being objective about taking decisions. Okay. I've not seen somebody say that they're involved in many other things because maybe because they are leaders. So school alumni is calling them to lead this. One NGO is telling them to be trustees on this. You understand? They are non-executive director on another company and all. Those things you need to profile it and know because they have they go into everything that shape how they think and how they act, right? And all. Okay. So if we are profile, and I will ask you to go further and think in your organizations. For those of you who are directly building executive leadership development programs, right, for these senior people, in whatever context they are building them, to go and adequately profile them, right? Go and adequately profile them, so that then you can be able to, hit the bull straight in the eye when you are deploying whatever you need to deploy for that development. All right. So I have 5 learning factors that drive effective executive leadership development. And I'll end with this, my conceptual framework that it's an intellectual property for me, right? I said executive leadership development will be optimized when learning, and I've tried to use now the acronym, right? When learning, right? Whatever learning. And like someone said earlier, reiterating what I said, that these are your general blended learning and all that stuff. You guys are great in all that, and all. I'm trying to build more of the foundation, right? So when you can get into how was the approach, what's the methodology for a learning, a learning intervention, what's hybrid best suited for, what's virtual, online instructor, classroom instruction, what model do I use for my ISD? That's for those who don't know, instructor system design. And there are many models out there, AD model and all. So what tools do I use if it's online? if I'm developing an online now training program and all that, what do I use and all? So this is not for that. This is more helping you to first of all pivot from a kind of conceptual framework. Okay. Now, I'm going to use the word acronym LEARN, right, to share 5 learning factors that executive leadership development, as long as it's targeted at these cohorts, these people will just profile people that think from a high level, people that are very strategic in how they think things, helicopter view, and people that the decision stops on their table. So they're constantly making decisions, they are risk takers, people that deploy less emotions in making institutional or business decisions, people that are very busy. Many things are conflicting for their time. So if they expect even people that send reports to them or present reports to them or are in meetings with them to come prepared, to hit it and all that stuff. Also because decision making is that and all. They need things they can work with. They need data, right? They need things that are granulated. They need information in a reporting style, in a format that they can work with. They need anything that you're going to call training, webinar, anything distilled in a way that they can work with immediately, more than ever before. You can argue that everybody needs it, yes, but executive leaders more than everybody else, right? And number one is learning that is level able, right? If you don't, any of your learning programs, learning interventions, learning approach that is not level able is dead on arrival, right? And this is what I mean by level able, right? If you don't dimension properly that executive leaders, right, are at different maturity curves of their executive leadership, right? And so whatever mini competency metrics or competency framework that you can either quickly put together or maybe exist in the organization, right? And you want to adopt, okay? And then be able to plug them, right, in profiles into where they sit, where they range, right, on whatever continuum or whatever curve that you are using, okay? Because just like everybody else, you cannot target generic learning at executive leaders. You can't. This applies for everybody, but more importantly, is the starting point as well for them. For them as well, you even need to go deeper. For executive leaders, right, the best of learnings, right, you can mix them. They can learn through conferences, right? That's okay. But more often than not, right, most of the executive leadership program are close cohorts in different ways, right? They require mentoring session, mentoring ops, they require coaching, so you have lots of close whatever stuff, right? When they go for all these like AMP or SMPs, you find out that the serious business schools don't even seriously pack many people so that they can facilitate interactions and all and stuff. This tells you that you need to be able to also understand them using some instruments. So if you have never been someone that you never thought that personality testing, all right, or personality instruments were important, welcome to the point now that more than ever before. Look, right, the reasons why if executive leadership programs or development are never effective is because they don't granulate basic things so that then you can cluster people in levels and you can engage from the levels that they are. So you need personality testing, right? You also need one or two other testing that speaks to their leadership style, right? And based on their personality, how they might respond, what the comfort zone of their leadership style. So let me help you. We said the best form of leadership, right? There is no, when you go to some, well, I hope no new generation leadership training. We'll be saying these are the styles of leadership: autocratic, democratic, and all, right? And stuff. Any curriculum you see like that, right? It's junk, right? And they're not. They're in the Stone Ages. Okay. The fact and even best practice and proven science is the fact that the best of leadership is how people get to be competent in situational leadership. How you read the situation well. So the capacity or the competence is helping leaders to read the situation well so that they can deploy the best and most effective leadership style, right, or approach for that situation. That's number one. And also to help them build capacity to switch easily. So let me give an example. We are all in an organization where we have 30 days to launch. We have 4 months to launch a product. We're looking at our execution planning map, and everything is going according to plan and all that stuff. I can call a meeting, and say, oh, Pelumi, Demola, please, I need a report on how we're doing. Are we tracking? Any stoppers, any obstacles, anything we should proactively quickly note so that we prepare for? Is everything good? And we rub mind, we share and all that stuff. And I said, okay, I'm thinking of something else, guys. But you know what? I don't want to granulate on it. Please go and this is the idea. Go and think about it, right? Rub minds on it. Let me know what you think. We're going to junk it. If you guys feel there's no headway with it, we'll junk it, right? Please, I need you to tear this apart, right? And we're not going to move forward with it if it doesn't make sense. And then we disperse the meeting, we go ahead, we reconvene at some point, you guys come in, you have a mini brainstorm, I'm quiet all through, you're sharing, I'm just asking questions and all that. And then my question at the end of the 30 minutes will be, okay, so what do you guys think? You guys are, Theo, I think we think we should junk it. It's distracting for us. Oh, Theo, we think that we should adopt it. And then we can plug it into this 3 months execution plan, and it's not derailing. And we'll move on. That's the style of leadership. With whatever name that you want to give it, democratic, whatever stuff, right? It works for that situation. But we want to have a launch in the next 3 weeks. And guess what? One of the vendors, who's the main vendor, that is going to be taking care of 75% of the launch part, right? Somehow, just we get a bit passed up. We've been doing business for that organization for 10 years. They've been on retainer, but the founder passed on, and we already know that strategic style and leadership from that organization towards our 3 weeks work. While we, on one hand, we empathize, we are also bereaved, so to speak, as a client, as a long-standing client of 10 years. But we already are looking at, and we know that, we know that we're in trouble. Okay. The truth is that, guys, wow, NEPA has done is what they do. Okay. The truth is that if I want to ensure that in the next 3 weeks we achieve that national-wide project, I'm going to enter task force mode as a leader. I'm going to call everybody into the room. I would have thought over it over the night, written things on my tab or pad, right, and all that. And I'm calling people into the room. Demola, guess, yeah. X316 is unfortunate and all that and stuff, but we need to move. There are many things that are running riot now and all that and stuff. I've listed down some stuff. You guys can go and build on it. But guess what? I need you to do this and this and this. Please report to me by 2 p.m. after you make progress on this. By tomorrow, Fumi, I need this done, this and this and this. Bimbo, please, you can't do this alone. Pull one or two or three other people, talk to some HODs, or there might be general pool of staff that are interested in being on this committee to help us take care of this so that we can cut costs, get people on board, run an onboarding and orientation session for them so that they know what to expect and how to deal and move on it and all. Guys, every day now we're going to have sprint meetings every day, short 10 or 15 minutes debrief, right? That are sprint debrief meetings until the D-Day time and all. Very autocratic, right? But I want to know, do you think this approach will get desired effect or not? So it's yes or no. For people that still vacillate, so it's yes or no. Because I know that people have been able to get. So where are we going? What I'm trying to say is that even leaders, right, have a comfort zone, natural comfort zone of leading, right? So you need to even find out their comfort. Some are naturally laissez-faire, right? Some are naturally autocratic, some are naturally democratic and all. But just to tell you that even the person that is democratic, which is your democratic, natural, primary, inherent style of leadership, right, can cause wahala and havoc, right, in different contexts. While in some other contexts, it brings strength, okay? So we then say situational leaders. So even in the context of, you want to understand these leaders, you want to debrief that over, right? You want to be able to know the different things that speaks to, right, everything about their executive leadership. You do different texts and all that stuff, right? Once you do it, right, what you are also doing is that you are being able to look at benchmark of some expectations versus where they are. And then it depends on you. You can group people in levels, or you go on, you level the capabilities or the competencies. So you say level 1. Just so let me help you. Just as how we say, the default leadership development framework is what? Lead self, lead others, lead project, lead department, lead organization, or lead the business. Now that's the generic one, right? And stuff. Different levels, right? Same way as well that you're learning, whatever learning you're going to deploy for executive leaders, find a way to cluster the required or focused competencies in levels. The reason this helps is that it helps with a progression. That's number 1. Number 2, it helps with plugging different leaders on the different levels, because not all of them would be on the same level. Thirdly, right, it helps you to be able to individualize. Also, note me, individualize within a collective sense or collective approach, the learning. This is what I mean. Every learning generally, but also more towards executive leaders, because the cohorts are smaller, right? You have to be able to balance targeted individual approach, right, with also the collective group approach that everybody is involved in. Okay, so I need to quickly on, must be level able, right? I'm always I'll drop my contact so you can reach me for us to talk more about it if you need any more explanation on some areas, right? Number 2, it must be adaptive. This speaks to itself. Executive leaders, we profile them now. It means that they're making decisions, okay? They are thinking through on different things in their head. 2 people mentioned that they are risk takers. Sometimes they don't work with all the information that they would have required. but they need to take decisions as well. Okay? They are very busy. Getting them to sit in one place is wahala, right? Please, how else do you want to ensure that your learning deployed to them is effective, if not the fact that you need to ensure that your learning is adaptive? So, and guess what? You are not going to achieve adaptability if you've not leveled or dimensioned from one above the L. If you've not appropriately dimensioned in clusters the competency, capability requirements, and even where they sit in the various buckets that you might provide. It is when you do this that you can now ensure that your learning is adaptive. And your learning should be adaptive on different areas. So, all that thought. Let me quickly tell you that if you want some technical things, let me throw you some goodie for you guys that are learning as well. That your learning needs analysis, right? I hope you know that you are going to need to get your data analyzed across some strata, right? The first is always individual, which many just stay with. And they would say they've done learning needs analysis. Individual, your source. What's your source? Appraisal, right? Most of the time, performance appraisals, right? People stop at this and say, oh, they've done learn the analysis and that's it, okay? But that's just the first layer of a learning need analysis, a proper organizational learning needs analysis that helps you then to build, your learning plan, okay? Because beyond that level, you should also actually have a team analysis, right? Right. So teams, you're talking of units, you're talking of departments, right? For instance, a sales department in a particular region might be having issues, okay? And that might throw up learning gaps, right? You need to be able to analyze properly, right? It might not be the fact that everybody's appraisal at the individual level just shows, needs to meet expectation or something, right? A team might be struggling, right? And you might need to look at the peculiarities of that team and why that team is struggling, okay? So individual level, team level. The third is organizational level. So based on the strategic direction and goals of an organization, some competencies and capabilities become given. Become what? Given. Okay? And become given. So an organization says that, what's it called? ESG, right? Is becoming, our clients are demanding, what are we doing around, environmental sustainability, what are we doing around, zero, emission, carbon, what are we doing? What are we doing, right? When we are filling vendor registration form, they're asking us, and we can't lie. So as an organization, we need to look at our eco-friendly and sustainability strategy as an organization. So are we going to be on an organization-wide look, no paper? Are we going to get dustbins, bins in our offices that are eco-friendly or recyclable, right? Are we going to ensure that our furniture, right, and our furniture and our office fittings are eco-friendly? Are we going to ensure, beyond trying to save cost of using energy saving costs? No. The reason also is that we are actually focused also on sustainability of the ecosystem, because we know that using eco-friendly, energy products, right, is helping us achieve some sustainable development goals, right, within the eco-friendly space. So automatically, it means that everybody in the organization needs to be aware about sustainability, needs to be aware about friendliness, right? Needs to be aware of how that affects the organization, your space, your personal life, and all. whether you like it or not, either true. Now you can now say what's the mode, the progression, and what's the mode, what's the platform. Is it a webinar? Do we get an expert to come and do a 60 minutes, 45 minutes webinar for us? Do we do whatever it is? Do we also have a policy and all that? But it means that everybody basically at the competency level, awareness, knowledge, need to have it, because it's a strategic focus of the organization. And then you might take it further. You need to have a department, or you need to just identify a senior leader already, maybe an HR person or risk and all, who might want to take on the additional role of now leading that new function you want to create and co. It means that the person himself or herself needs to also go and build that capacity. The organization needs support, certification, knowledge, all the conferences person will go for, all the trainings person will go for. No matter if they have 20 years in a particular field already, if they want to strap on this new thing around ESG, they need to be able to take it on. How do you help them now to build? Okay, they want to start with a couple or two people in their couple, right? So more than ever before, right? Adaptiveness, okay? Adaptiveness, right? It's very key, okay? Number 3, experiential. So executive leaders make decisions. Executive leaders lead on the fly. Executive leaders, like you and I have profile, are very intuitive, okay? It means that whatever learning you are going to engage them with needs to be, yes, I say so. You can say Tayo Patayo said so. It is 18 years of experience. It needs to be 5% theory, right? And 95% experiential. It means that in the way you are going to design it, right? Even if they are going to be theory, the theoretical part should be actually models and frameworks that they can use. And whatever the learning engine you are going to be using to deliver your learning intervention has to be able to ensure that it's not as if you are going to dump it on them. No, they need to practice with those methodology. They need to practice with those framework and do something meaning within that program, right? Because one thing we fail to say is that they're hands-on. They want to learn something now and make it and put it to use immediately. So, but other than that, experiential. And that's why it will affect your choice of faculty. People that, so I said, when people approach me to come and, train their leaders in their organization, come and train us on organizational change management, come and train our senior people, our leaders, our managers on leadership, right? Come on different areas of leadership, protecting leadership, strategic leadership, different things, right? And I tell them, I'm not a trainer, right? If you want a trainer, you can get anybody that can get anything from the internet, dump it, and stuff, and train. I said, I am a thought leader that loves to train. There are two different things, right? As a thought leader, right, I churn out research and time-tested concepts and frameworks that anybody can take, right, and go and use, right, and they find out that they give results, right? And these things have been things that have been shared even with other peers and other thought leaders. I'm using this informally, it works and all that and stuff, right? That's why many executive leaders go for programs, sometimes organized by, because everybody cannot go to the Harvard now. They can't go to IMD. They can't go to London Business School. They can't go to LSE. Everybody cannot, right? Right? Even if they go, are they going to, is that all that they're going to be going? No. Sometimes they'll just need some internally created stuff that you'll be able to use, local stuff and all. And many times they complain to you or they give you feedback that they don't get best and all because the faculty you use, CV looks great, profile looks great, but when it comes to the experience, but lots of theory, right? When it comes to the experiential part, living that part, right? Living that part where they can sit in front of C-level executives and all. Amazing, right? They are very low. So let me give an example. So I took a board session last year and I was the youngest in the team. Okay, so you had a team of about 4. You had the former national economic advisor to the president. And then you had the you had the present CEO of NASG on the team and all. But for me, guess what? We were taking all this. My own session for 3 days in transfer was to take sessions to a board that had the former deputy governor of CBN as the chairman of that board, to take a session letting boards understand that there's a difference between board management and board leadership, and how to transit from a mindset of board management to board leadership. I stayed in my lane, right? And in my capacity, and in my models that have been proven, because I also sit on boards of trustees of non-profit and also one or two other organizations, right? And all. Now, the reason why why my capacity will be seen to be adequate for very senior people that also are on the boards of different organizations. And you have a former deputy governor of the central bank that's gone to all the Harvards of this world, right? Sitting three days across me, looking at me, writing down everything out and all, is because of the people obeyed, the organizers obeyed this concept and ensured that experiential learning was put in. I sat in 1 hour class of Dr. Doyin Salami. It was taking them his own session on economics, right? And how to understand economics, very leading organizations. My people, I've never seen economics that they taught us in school, but high level, right? Economics of nature, macroeconomics, broken down such simply to leaders before. He stayed in his lane as well, helping the food scarcity, food security. This is what it can lead to. This is what it can lead to. This is what breaking it down to even the common man, doing profiles of if people are earning this bracket, right? This tax bracket, how does it affect? How does it affect? Amazing, right? So every learning that you deploy that will drive effective leadership development must be experiential. You must design it to ensure that it's hands-on, right? They are putting to use, right, what they are learning. You must also design it that the faculty taking them on gets the brief, right? That they can also, they're also experiential, right? Experiential facilitators, and they can also take this participant on that journey. Okay, it's reflective, because executive leaders make decisions. They're always pressured to take decisions, to think and all that stuff, right? Their decisions also affect lots of things. It has domino effect. Okay, they need to, whatever learning is deployed for them needs to help them to always think through, right? Think through the implications of their decisions. Think through the implications of using any methodology or any model that you are even training them or teaching them to use, or any principle that you are sharing with them that they should be aware of, or any knowledge that you are saying that they should embrace. So if you are decided that because you saw, in Harvard, blah, 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 there's time for reflection, journaling, personal development plan at the end of a program, 5 or 6 day program, and then they're meant to use it to go and look at stuff and all, right? That is the ABCD. The A is the principle model. Reflection is being built into the learning program. That's the principle. That's the conceptual agenda, right? Now, how to achieve that conceptual agenda and principle is now what they built into that program of journaling or, personal development plan, 3 months or 6 months, what I will use, learning this, how when am I going to use it, 60 days, 90 days, 30 days, and all that stuff, right? These are the experiential concepts that you need to be able to understand if you are going to drive executive leadership that is effective for these senior people. It needs to be nimble, right? So the reverse is the case. So it's so funny. you would imagine that because they are adults, they are very senior people. So you imagine that, oh, you should come full throttle, bazooka, with all the technicalities, the technical jargons, the big stuff and all that. Funny enough, that's not the case, right? That sometimes even the younger ones, millennials or Gen Z, can grasp more of the technical stuff faster if you teach it, or you tutor it, or you train it, or you coach it, or you mentor it in the right way. Okay, that with the older ones and the more senior ones, you need to nimble it, make it simple, make it easy. It's almost the principle that make easy to burn that almost in the extreme, something that you can explain to a 5-year-old. That's what I said, in the extreme, but I get to get the message. Senior people, executive leadership people, right? We get turned off when you are too grandiose, when you want to explain a concept, right? Or you're sharing something and it's too high fidelity. You say that, but you will feel that you guys are solving high level problems. You are thinking highly strategic. Your thoughts are up there. So you feel that automatically you should match them with anything you are bringing to them, right? Up there. Funny enough, the reverse is the case, right? You actually, to get their attention effectively and to get it sustained, you need to be nimble, easy. And that's why, best principle, you can't keep them for long. You can't keep them seated for long. They need to be moving around. They need to be connecting and all that and stuff, right? They need to, all those things need to be working and all. And then the way and manner the concept are taught are in bit-sized, like feeding a muscle. These 5 things, let me stop here. I can break them down more. There are more explanations on them. But this is Tayo Patayo's model, 5 learning factors that drive effective executive leadership development.